So, our guest today is not only an experienced actor with nearly 4 decades of experience behind him, he also spent 2 years hitchhiking around the world. He is the UK champion of Argentinian tango. He's currently developing a new form of theater based on dramatic improvisation, and he holds a degree in astrophysics. Fans of V for Vendetta will recognize him as Willie Spare the Rod Fingerman. Thank you very much to Mark Phoenix for being with us today. So, Mark, your first credit is back in 1993, the before times, in the series London's Burnin'. Did you act prior to that?
Oh, yeah, I've done years of theatre, and I've been incredibly lucky that I've worked with geniuses. I don't know why my career took that sort of path. That maybe, I don't know whether I attract, or I don't know, I'm willing to be open to something. I've worked with some really creative directors, and I think this gave me a huge inspiration and a huge, I don't know, confirmation that maybe I was in the right place.
Let me ask you a question here. What would you say, we all have that moment in life that kind of sparks us? For me as a child, watching kids every summer where everybody's playing football and basketball, I was home watching TV. What really led you to a career in acting and made you go down that path?
Yeah, I think it's a similar thing with childhood stuff. I was always organising all the local kids to come to a puppet show, and I don't know, when I was 5 or 6, and get all my puppets and teddies behind the settee, and I don't know, organising this huge thing. So by the time I hit my school, I was mainly doing quite academic subjects, but I had a chance to suddenly hit on this drama option when I was 14, and I got the sort of this, I don't know, a lead part in this devised school thing. And yeah, that was the point when this is for me.
Well, I'll say at least in the U.S. when it comes to, as they say, make it in Hollywood, make it in Hollywood, and have it being like a pipe dream, and there's so many things you have to do. When you talk about the journey, what was the journey like for you to get where you're at? And like you said, you've been blessed to work with geniuses. You worked over in the UK, and then like, what is it like over there versus being over here? Is it the same pipe dream to get to Hollywood? Is it the same road, or do you have to go down your own path to get there?
Yeah, I think there's less of because we haven't got, Hollywood is the US. That in itself becomes, when you, even the famous actors over here, do they want to go over to the US and do all that? So I think the first thing, do we make it over here? But it's the same type of thing in people will continually put you off, and it's time you grew up, get a proper job. I don't know if you know the current government are saying this at the moment with all the COVID crisis. They're telling all artists to retrain. It's crazy. It's the second biggest industry in terms of GDP into the UK, but they don't consider it a worthwhile career. So every artist, you've got to go out and retrain. We can't afford you to.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Okay, I misunderstood
Like they
what
had to do their craft over.
yeah,
They're like, no, find something else to do.
Yeah,
you never make it in this industry, kid.
Yeah, I thought retrain was just retrain for the new way. We're gonna have to, that's wow.
So V for Vendetta.
So the whole government of the UK pretty much became my mom.
Exactly. Yeah.
I like your mom. Don't do that.
Hey, I like her too, but she wants the best for me, and sometimes. All right, so yeah, as we mentioned in the introduction, which we'll definitely get into at least a little bit before we let you go, you hold the degree in astrophysics. So I guess the crudest, and this kind of goes into what you're saying with retrain. You're kind of already retrained, but why are you not an astrophysicist now? Why are you an actor? How did that happen?
I think it was sort of the other way round in a way. It's this thing, like you say, everyone tries to put you off. So I was at school. I hit the sixth form, and you called in. The headmaster says, "What do you want to do with your life?" And I sort of go, "Well, I'd be a comedian." And you can see him go, and it's that sort of thing to go, well, you haven't done an English degree, so you're not going to be able to go to drama school that way. Your parents aren't rich, so you can't afford to go that way. So why don't you go to university in London, where the theatres are, and do physics? And I'm just reading this list of things, and I didn't get past A. It was like astrophysics, and the whole sort of science fiction and black holes and Einstein, and I'm going, yeah, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to study astrophysics. But it was, I think it's still that same journey. Yeah, that thing with, your mom, is this a sensible job? So.
Sure. Yeah, I like that you just are so nonchalant about, like, you just landed on astrophysics. That'd be one thing if you just landed on it, tried it, and then was done, but you actually walked away with a degree.
Yeah. and fascinating, yeah. It means, my understanding of the universe is like, there you go.
Wow. I told him I was going to mess this up. I'm going to try to say this is Einstein-Rosen bridge. Does that even ring a bell whatsoever?
No.
It was me trying to put something from a movie that talked about astrophysics that was obviously made up for Hollywood magic. So I've just embarrassed myself. So back to the man who knows more about it than anybody here. With that being said, when we did our research on you, because we like to do our research, we went through a lot of the different films and reels that you've done, and it seems like you're drawn, is like your characters, there's a vast array of characters. Are you drawn to fringe characters, or is there anything like that really hones in on what speaks to you?
I think there's a sort of two things. Is like I was saying about being drawn to, or getting geniuses to be drawn to me. I think I'm not Tom Cruise, so the look isn't going to go, okay, you're a leading love thing. So, some of your options are by your casting. But yeah, I get drawn to the interesting stuff, certainly in theatre, I've been allowed more range than on screen. You tend to be more stuck in your look. But in theatre, I've had a lot more range to explore the different characters. And yeah, I get the joy out of, playing a variety.
When I was looking through the pictures on IMDb, I noticed I saw the end results of the makeup in Misfits, and that looked incredible. And it looked like it was probably a daunting task to get that applied. Could you speak on that experience?
Yeah, it was 5 hours in makeup. So that's while everyone else is coming in, a little bit of powder, out you go, having their chat. I was in there from early morning because it was a whole body thing. So, they were doing my whole body. And in the end, the last thing that happened was the eyes. So I had these huge contact lenses to go into the eyes, but there's such a small diameter to see through that it turned me quite introvert. It's really interesting by not being able to see much and your whole vision is narrowed down. I went onto set and was just sort of, I'm supposed to be this big scary monster. I'm sitting quietly on my own because my whole world is closed down on me.
Tunnel vision.
Yeah.
True tunnel vision.
I'm just picturing like a sulky, sad, demonic creature just sitting in the corner with just losing self-esteem and by the moment.
Who are you going to kill? Whoever I see. That's what
the world is closing in on me. I don't know. The next movie you starred in 1995, and you're on set already with the likes of Helen Mirren. Throughout your career, what would you say is the best tip that you've picked up on and put into practice for yourself and your approach to acting?
Yeah, I think, but just link back to Helen Mirren, because in the read-through, I sat next to her and she exudes such, I don't know, it's just the energy. And she was lovely in terms of, she offered to the whole of the room, if you want to give me any notes, please do. And for me, this is, she's a top actress and going, I can give you a note. This is, it's amazing. So I think looking back, I was thinking about, I think I did something as in training in screen stuff. I'd done a lot of physical theatre and I was very sort of big and expressive with my body. And I started doing screen things and I thought, less is more, less is more. And this one director just said it was a class only, but he just said, you're boring. And it's so I was slightly going, it's not less is more. You do the same inside. You have to know what camera lens you've got in. If you're miles away from the camera, you can be really big. If you're close up, or lighting thing there, you realize where the camera is. So one of the best tips I got, I think, was have a relationship with a camera operator. It doesn't have to be whatever. It's just a short range thing. You can just ask, how big and what's my eye line? Because they can make you look good or bad.
Yeah.
So there's something very, very simple. Not that you don't have to bother the directors and whatever else. You just straight to the camera operator and go, let's form some sort of relationship. We're working together on this thing. If I know where I am in the shot, I know where you're shooting me, the thing's going to work a lot better.
Very nice.
That's amazing. Now, and I can tell even from him talking, it's a good segue into what I was from what we were looking at. Now, you actually teach acting. You have for some time here, and we can actually, I think, let's even call you an innovator, if you will, because he was telling me when we were doing our research about there's this new form of dramatic-based improvisational theater. So, could you tell us what that's about and where do we sign up at? Where can we get our credits at? You know?
Yeah, please sign up. I think I was inspired by, like a lot of people, from Peter Brook's Empty Space, his book, when he talks about dead theatre and things. And I was aware that a lot of theatre, I don't know, needed an inspirational quality. And I've been lucky in theatre that I've worked with people that allow that or encourage it. And then I sort of hit the improvisation world and found that they're basically, because of you lot, Saturday Night Live and whatever, it's turned, the people now think the word improvisation means comedy. Mm-hmm. And so it becomes this thing to go, oh, so I see this cabaret style of something, or I see dead theatre. And for me, it's like, there's got to be something in the middle where you can inspire people to, by being alive and in the moment, you're making it all up as you go along to keep it really fresh. But you can be dark and sad. You don't have to make the audience laugh. It's like, let's do like a proper play would, make the audience cry or whatever. So having had the initial idea of coalescing these two things together, it's then been 20 years of going, okay, how do I improve this? How do I make this work? I would like to challenge my national theatre over here and say, okay, you've got these big spaces, you paid, lots of money to have top actors, rehearsals, writers. Let me come in the lobby with my group. You tell me how many actors you want. We will make up a play in the lobby, and I want it to be better than what you're doing in the main house.
Now, that's retraining. That's the type of retraining they need to be talking about.
Now that we're all on Zoom, I've started to realize that what my new twist on this is that I want to make movies on Zoom. For something, because Mike Lee does his improvisation, but he sets it. Once they've improvised, for the lighting and whatever else, he sets the thing. But now we're all in separate boxes. It's like I'm teaching my team to work their own lighting, their own camera tricks. So it's like we're now not, as an improviser, not just being the actor and the playwright or the director. We're now being lighting designer and camera person, all as one. Can we, between a team, make up a movie?
I love that you say that, because me and him always talk about when you're doing film that film is like playing golf. You don't just need one club. The more clubs you have, the more things you can accomplish. And just like going on set, I'll always be able to get a job on set because I'm willing to go from craft services to directing. You got to know everybody's job. Like you say, talk to the cameraman and see how you look. So thank you so much for those words. Let me ask you this. I've been acting for over since I can remember. He's been writing films. And one thing we both know is that, fanfare is one thing, but talk about the highs and the lows when it comes to your career, because clearly you've done so many projects. There have been moments where you're like, I never thought I'd be here. And then there have been moments where like, why am I here? Like, how did I get here? So talk about the highs and lows of your career in this.
Okay, so I think a high has to go back into theatre when I was working with really creative people who I really admired and respected, and it felt like a family. And we were doing Under Milkwood in using Welsh accents and things. We did it as six of us were doing the whole of. I don't know if you know, it was designed for the radio, and there's loads and loads of parts. But we were divided just into six to share all the parts. So we had to make a character that could become other characters. And I so enjoyed the creativity of that process. And in the reviews, it was me who got the mention. And I was blown away because I'm working with these brilliant people. And it's like, well, someone noticed me and, they thought in this. But so for me, that was again, I don't know, this confirmation that you're on the right lines, you're doing a good job with people that you respect, that you expect everyone to notice how brilliant they are. And the journalist noticed me and to go, so high. Maybe low in terms of talking about V. There's the fact that it didn't take off as it should have done. I had a feeling being on the movie that it was such a great movie. It was saying all the right things. The cast were brilliant and they all turned in such good performances. And yet over in the UK, there was one guy that does a film review thing, and he didn't like it. So it just didn't hit the big screens over in the UK, and it became a cult classic, thank God. Mm-hmm. But for me, there was this thinking, oh my God, my career is going to take off. People are going to see me in this thing, and I'm going to get more work. And there's 6 months afterwards going, what happened to this film? But no one's seeing it, and I'm not getting any work. So,
I know the feeling.
That's amazing to me, because that's I only know that movie to be a success. I mean, right. A huge success. So I didn't even know that it didn't get theaters over there. Well, that's a perfect segue into, we're in 2005. Mm-hmm. You're playing Willie Fingerman in V For Vendetta. Character, and it's such a nice balance between over the top comic book villain with an extra added flair of rated R menacing quality, before it was the trendy thing to do.
It was the Dark Knight before the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You're threatening Natalie Portman's character verbally, Evie, somewhat physically, before quickly being taken out by V. Literally left caught with your pants down. So few questions about that. My first one is I know Natalie Portman graduated from Harvard with a bachelor's in psychology. You have the degree in astrophysics. Did this happen to spawn any interesting conversations on set?
It's a shame that it didn't really, because of, I don't know, star quality and things like this, and because she started off as a young girl, I think she's been very protected. So she was always whisked away from the set before we could do anything. I mean, I did talk to her bodyguard about whether he'd take a bullet for her, but and he was going on. He's saying, well, prevention is better than cure. So
wow, it depends where.
All right, how long? We always know you can spend 30 hours on set, and then some of your stuff winds up on the cutting room floor. As far as your scene concerned, how long were you there, and how long did it take to shoot your scene? And is it okay if we can discuss how it was shot, or
Yeah. Okay. So there was. I don't know, there's some technical thing they wanted to come back on. So we did 2 weeks, and then they decided they wanted to do it all again for 2 weeks. So it was 4 weeks of me being there. And it was really, there was a mix of the director working on the emotional stuff, and the Wachowskis working on the secondary thing, doing all the stunts. So there's you're doing two halves of these things, so you get all your emotional stuff and then you've got to work with all the stunt crew, wires and flying through the air and things. So you wouldn't have thought that I needed a stuntman for that little that little shot, but I had my own stuntman. There's just a bit where the knife goes through my belt. They didn't want to risk me losing my tackle, so the stuntman took this. And the moment of just the fall, I said, I can fall and whatever, but they go, no, we got to protect you. So some guy just does the actual moment of falling. So it's going, okay, there's these 2 bits where, I had a stuntman to do something.
I noticed that the guy in and I don't have his name on hand, but the other man in the scene with you, I think he's a stuntman also. Was he allowed to do his own? Was he allowed to do his own stunts, or is that contractual as an actor?
That's why they had the stuntman in. There's the two of us actors, and a stuntman was the third guy. So he was. In order to do all the fight sequences, they decided it was better to have a stuntman doing that as a sort of a minimal thing. So and it's quite amazing because you never know who's behind the mask.
Yeah,
You've got V turning up in the mask, and then you go, is it the actor? Is it the stuntman? Is it the stand-in? Yeah, I don't know who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Wow, now that is great. That's very good insight. And speaking of that, like with a movie like V for Vendetta, I think we can agree it's a very methodical movie. Was there doing filming, at least when you were there, was there any room for improv and being improv or being on spur of the moment, or did you have to stick directly to Wachowski's script? Like, did it have to be word for word?
Yeah, I think it had to be sticking to the script. There were, I mean, within anything, you do a bit of creativity in the rehearsal process but I think they were trying their best to follow as close as they could the comic. So I thought they when they set it up trying to really follow Alan's whatever vision of whatever, but it's a really interesting. Afterwards, he still wasn't happy. I had a talk with him. He just go, I was really hoping that you'd really like this one because I thought it really stuck to what you were trying to say and do. So.
And the director, James Mateek, he seems to be a freaking collaborator with the Wachowskis. He's served as AD on the Matrix trilogy. He directed the series Sense8. Of course, V for Vendetta was the first film that he took the helm on as the director. And you know, that's quite an undertaking. The last movie we did, Paid in Full, it was Charles Stone III's first movie, and the cinematographer, Paul Saracey, was talking about you know, the challenges of being a first-time director on a feature film. What was your experience like working with James Mateek as it being his first feature?
Yeah, he was just a very nice guy. And I think this was because the Wachowskis were there and they had their power and they were doing all the stunt stuff. There's a lot of, I don't know, pressure there. And it's like, in a way, he was, I mean, it shows that he must have been doing a good job because of the great performances that everybody gave. Yeah. The thing I liked was that I was his wife's favorite character.
No.
So he told me this, and so there, out of all this sort of thing, you go, my wife really likes. Oh, great, okay.
What a strange. I mean, no disrespect to your performance. Your performance was great, but that even makes it that it's his wife's favorite character even stranger because it's such a strange character for specifically a woman to be like, yeah, that character.
Go for it. Go for it. We would be remiss if we didn't bring up the fact that, of course, V for Vendetta was director of photography Adrian Biddle's final film. Of course, him having passed away in 2005 on December 7th. Just from the time you spent with him, what was your memory like with him from the last time he was in front of the lens?
I think it's this thing for me about relating to the camera person and whatever. I think you could tell the intelligence. This is often something that's the people involved in camera stuff. They're got a different mindset. They're on technical and sciencey stuff. So for me, it's like I know how to relate to these guys, and I can relate to the artistic guys on the other level. So I just felt like his presence was there, being very intelligent about the whole thing. And when you see what you're doing on the screen and where he's pitching you and the colors he's using and things, you're thinking, real magic.
Well, I think you're the first person to ever bring together astrophysics meets acting. So I'm there. I'm signing up.
V for Vendetta, this movie has become representative of a state of rebellion against corrupt power system as much as it is a great film. The mask becoming the face of Anonymous. It's seen on people from all walks of life in various marches and protests across the world. How does it feel to have taken part? And I know you said that it wasn't the smash hit out of the gates in the UK that you were hoping for, but to be a part of something that's going to stand the test of time and already has, being such an impactful movie on society.
Yeah, I feel very pleased and proud, and it did feel that, I don't know, people did put in really good performances for it, and it left, for me, it just felt right from the off, this whole thing, government should be afraid of their people and people not afraid of their government, this stuff. And I just thought, this is a great sort of thing that we should be saying as it is part of our democratic thing. It feels, as the anonymous mask took off, I was just thinking, I wish they'd have given me one at the end of the sort of thing, it's a wrap, here you go, have a mask. Yeah.
Let me ask you this before we move on. Of course, like we'll move on from V for Vendetta, but before we move on, is there any interesting stories from set or just, like you say, you met the cameraman, seeing how intelligent they were because their mind works different? Interesting stories or fun facts you picked up from working on V for Vendetta?
There's a sort of interesting moment of not working on the V for Vendetta. It was a Sunday on my day off. We were filming in Berlin, and I thought, let's go and find some improvisation. And I was asking sort of all the other people, do you want to come along with me to see if I can get on stage tonight and do a piece of improvisation? And they're thinking, you're mad. One, it's your day off, and two, is improvisation. Improvisation is scary. What are you doing? You're going to go to, into the center of Berlin. So I went, and there was a Russian team at the time working. So we did some improvisation in 3 languages. The Russians were being translated by the East Germans, and the West Germans were translating me from the English, and we were able to improvise in 3 languages. So this is
That's amazing.
Awesome.
And hilarious to me that, that's like the equivalent of somebody that works at a grocery store. Like, all right, I just got off work. I'm going to go bag some groceries over there at the other grocery store tonight. The job is never done. It's your day off. So your persona off screen seems to have just as much quality and range as your characters on screen. So we wanted to take just a few moments during this interview to dive into a few of the other things that you have done.
Now, one of the things that we talked about, you're the only man that we found online that can give Forrest Gump a run for his money. You literally hitchhiked around the world for 2 years, like 2 whole years. So, yeah. Just let me ask you that. What was it like for you to do that whole, we say it's an interview, that journey alone. What was that like?
It was quite amazing because it was my growing up period, really. I left when I was 23 years old, and I got back when I was 25 years old. So, and I've just been reading or listening to some human behavioral biology in terms of, and it's not until you're 25 that your prefrontal cortex is totally mature. So there's something about this final learning process. And for me, that was a really rich time to be able to see the different cultures and religions and geography and whatever. You just go, oh my God, I'm a person on this planet, and look how different it is wherever I go.
It clearly, so that's what the growing up is what inspired you. But let me ask you this: if it's a 2-parter, what's the most interesting place you journeyed to, and what, more importantly, at least for me, what was your most interesting mode of transportation?
Okay, so one of the interesting place may have been China, because maybe it's not like China nowadays. When I went in, I was one of the first people in to China after they opened the doors up. So it was quite interesting for me to feel racism as a white person, because it's not something that in my other experience that I get this. So it feels, I'm this very strange, hairy. I've got hairs on my arms. I've got curly hair. It's like they're looking at me like I'm a monkey. It's like going, you're not human. What is this? What is this on your head? It's not black. It can't be hair. You're blonde. So what is it? So it became and because they were so locked down and they'd had the Cultural Revolution, they were still very scared of giving out information. So I would go to a hotel and ask for a bed, and they would sort of be going, no, this isn't a hotel. You go to a rail station, can I have a rail ticket? No, this isn't a railway station. They're all worried that they're going to be, executed for telling, a foreigner some secrets. And it may be let them know that this is a hotel, this is a railway station, maybe a secret.
Well, that kind of answers my next question. I was going to ask about any scary encounters. And even when you say it's like talking about the racism, even in movies like Mr. Baseball or Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, you notice when someone from America comes over there, especially someone fair-skinned, they're Gaijin. I don't know if you heard that, but I guess this is like one of the most racist things that you can hear. So that's scary in itself. Let me ask you this though, because you're a creator, you do a little improv, so we're going to improv you real quick. If you were pitching a hitchhiking story for a film, what was something that you went through that might be a pitch that you would give to someone doing a film on hitchhiking?
Okay, so here's something now that's going to blow you away. I was a god in the Philippines.
Wow. Okay. Oh yeah. I think I can.
So this is something that when I got back, people said, you got to make this into a piece of theatre or something. And I never have. But it was straight out of Monty Python, the Life of Brian.
Yeah.
So everything I did was, it's a sign, it's a sign. And I would say, I don't smoke, I don't drink. Oh, neither do we. It's a sign. Everything I did. And it becomes really embarrassing to sort of, they would say, but you're a god, aren't you? And so you go, no. Only a true god would deny they're a god. All right, I'm a god then. So in the end, I couldn't answer yes or no to anything they ask. And if you try doing that, what you end up doing is you're talking parables. So I was stuck in not being able to escape from this being revered in such a way. And it made me, question humanity on that level. When people, they want to believe, they need to believe, and if I'm the best they can do. Wow.
At that moment, the trip would have stopped for me. I'd be like, all right, this is no longer a road trip. I am now home. This place is good.
I have arrived.
Yeah.
I have arrived.
When they started asking me to save people's lives, then I knew I had to go. It was, if they're saying, even the people that were sort of slightly being fraudulent of grading me up, because they knew I did astrophysics, and instead of maybe over here they go astrology, they said, oh, astronaut, so you must be a captain. So they introduced me to everybody going around this religious sort of thing as a captain. But even those people were saying, my daughter's dying, I want you to use your special powers. And that is a responsibility I didn't want to have.
What do you say to that, man? That's crazy.
Yeah, you just say, I guess you didn't believe enough in me.
How do they say it in the Matrix? What does that guy say? So you're here to save the world. What a mind job, man.
All right, so perfect segue into astrophysics, and this is probably the part that I am most excited to get into. I am in no way intelligent when it comes to this, but I'm abundantly curious, and I just love to hear people talk about it. So I'm not just going to speak to an astrophysicist and not throw a few astrophysicist questions your way. So I'm going to take a little bit advantage of this opportunity. I'm not trying to stump you or anything like that. We don't know the right answers here.
Right. We don't even know the wrong answers, so we don't have any answers to these questions.
Yeah. So just going to go through a few of them here. First of all, what sparked your interest in astrophysics?
So, yeah, like I said, it was this headmaster moment of saying, what are you going to study? So it became this wonderful thing and then in week one, I thought by the end of 3 years, I'd know about Einstein, but relativity was week one. So you go, where do I go beyond this now? And I'm realizing that since I've left, because, my degree was back in the early 80s. So I try to have a little sort of connection still, and there's still stuff that's left me behind now to go, oh my God, there's this and there's this and there's this. Where's all the learning going? So very exciting. It gives you a grounding. I think it's really nice to, if you finish at whatever else, I'm 25, I've traveled the world, and I know life, the universe, and everything. Now I can explore acting because now I'm exploring the human behavior. Yeah, and I know the other stuff, and no one's going to give me any BS anymore because I can see through this now.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, all right. So here now we get into some of the nitty gritty, or at least as nitty gritty as I can get. Why is the universe expanding?
Oh God, it's like, was it expanding? Why is it still expanding? There are various theories that someone's saying there's a field. There must have been some sort of original field at the point of the Big Bang, and that creates the thing. But these are only theories. In a way, it's like we still don't know. And I would like to, this thing about I've got my 7 score years and 10 or whatever, and I want to know, before I die, I'd love to know these answers. If people can work out, where did this come from? Why it was a singularity, and why did it start expanding? I was reading Stephen Hawking's one of his things, and he was almost saying it's an inevitability. It's almost like, rather than saying how did it happen, it's almost like this was inevitable.
So I guess that kind of answers the next question of why did the Big Bang take place? Would that be your best?
Yeah, there's something to go that it's quite an interesting sort of way of thinking. When you try to think, pulling yourself out of the bootstrap, there's nothing and then there's something. But the theory goes that it's very hard to make like a few atoms out of nothing, but it's very simple to make a whole universe out of nothing. It's to go, I can't get my head around that sort of thing. Yeah. I think as we get to the limits of where we are with science now, it's beyond our Earth-based concepts. It's very hard to grasp because we learned, how to hunt and how to avoid being hunted. Those are things that we planted in our neurons. To then start to go, how does the universe at the fringes of beginnings and ends and things, how does that happen? It's sort of, we can use maths, but it's like maths is a language. Translating maths back into English, it leaves us with all these vagaries to go, I don't know.
Yeah. That's pretty wild. It ends up being the answer is it's too all encompassing for our limited brains within our perspective on Earth and the human form we take to truly comprehend. I think almost lands us in the same place as like I'm an atheist because that was always the answer to why can't I understand God? Well, it's too big for you to understand. But at least science is trying.
I think the one thing that we all can say is that no matter what field you're in, religion, atheist, Scientologist, that we don't know. Can we at least agree that there's no definitive answer? We just don't know.
Well, there's the level of not knowing, which I think is the important thing. Is like the sum of humanity knowing is not what we as an individual know. So as an individual, what do I know? But the sum of humanity's learning is we know a lot more than you. And that's sort of, people go, I don't know, therefore you don't know, therefore we don't know. We know a lot, and therefore we've learned a lot. And therefore, when people use that as an argument, we just don't know as an argument. You go, well, for me, there's doubt. But the level of doubt is, for me, there's something about, there's 99.9999% that this is the thing. And there's the level of doubt left for something. But for a lot of people, they just go, oh, there's doubt. So my not knowing means that, my not knowing is the same as humanity not knowing. And that's not true.
So do you doubt the possibility of parallel or infinite universes?
Multiverse.
Well, this is the current theory. I mean, it's a mathematical thing again. And I think what you have to sort of understand is what is it that makes our universe on that mathematical level? And it's to do with, the word just escaped me for a minute. It's to do with things like pi and log to the base e and gravitational constants. There we go, constants. So our universe has these constants that are always there, the speed of light, whatever. These are the figures that talk to us. So this is our universe. So in another universe, these figures will be different. But some of these universes, it would be impossible to survive. So these things, so there's all these possible potential universes, multiverses, but a lot of them will just fold in on themselves because the constants just wouldn't work. So in a way, I don't know, you start to think of all the sci-fi stuff, but actually it's more like a mathematical thing. What is one constant is different in this universe, and one constant is different or whatever, and how would that affect the construct of another place somewhere? And I don't know, in terms of being this thing, because there's something about coming in and out of the universe, because you're talking about the atheism thing there, and I was just thinking, that's for me, the whatever God thing is most people's description of it is something that's outside and inside the universe. And that can't be.
Yeah.
So that either something's outside the universe that created it and we don't know what that is, we can't possibly get to that and measure that. But if something is inside the universe, it's an alien. It may be a super powerful whatever else, but to say that something is outside and then can creep in and then control everything, that definition of God can't be.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Where were you? We should have brought him on when we did Tenet. It would have been so much easier when we did if we would have had you on. We interviewed Tenet. Like, goodness grief! All right,
So what is the most likely way that the universe will end?
Not with a bang, but with a whimper. I think it's for me. I think it's just going to carry on expanding until it dies, till everything sort of gets to whatever with 4 degrees K, and everything is miles apart. I don't know. There's something. I don't know. Had little concepts of stories. I don't know if you know Asimov's Nightfall. So it's a story about the people who have 7 suns, and there's one point where the 7 suns are all going to be on the same side together. It's the first time they've ever seen night. And I was thinking something for me about the end of the universe. There's a moment when instead of suddenly seeing these millions of stars, what if you see the last star in your own universe wink out because it's now gone too far away and there's nothing out there at night. There's your sun in the daytime, but so that's how, the universe is going to end by, it will just go into darkness and yeah.
Wow.
That
sounds like the Fire Festival.
Yeah. So yeah, everything kind of just feels a little pointless after that, but it's so far away. Just keep that in perspective. We don't have to worry about that. So the last 3, I looked up space.com's top 3 questions that people ask astrophysicists, and I thought they were interesting. And you kind of touched on the first one already. Is there a God? Being that it's a possibility inside the universe, an absolute impossibility outside of the universe. But the other 2 questions are there aliens, and what would happen if I fell into a black hole?
Okay, so I would say yes, there are aliens, but the chances of us talking to them is 0. I think there's something to realize how huge the universe is. The possibilities of there not, of life coming in, it just must be happening somewhere. Even if but the chances are it's going to be so far away, and the chance of traveling, even if people could master the speed of light, you still wouldn't get here to make that connection. So, people in the Midwest who see them every night, you go, no, that's whatever you're seeing. That's a neuronal issue rather than a space issue. There's so yes, they are. I think there must be, but the chances of us connecting with them are very, very small. And what happens when you fall into a black hole? You die. I mean, I think people have, because of the nomenclature, people have sort of said they think of it as a hole, but really it's just a really, really heavy matter that it's got so much gravity that light can't even escape. It's a hole in terms of you can't see it, it's black. But it's just incredibly massive, heavy gravity that's just going to rip you apart, and you're just going to turn into a piece of string as you shoot down towards whatever it is, the singularity.
Yeah, what a visual, turning into a piece of string.
Yeah, I mean, this is by far the most intellectual interview we've ever done. So you're going to go right up on our board up there. Let me ask you a question, just to hone back in on the stage and the screen. And out of all the performances you've done, because you have done quite a few of them, which one to you is your favorite character? And like, how did that result come from? I'm going to play this character, and were you happy with the end result and who you become as far as when it comes to method acting and things of that nature?
I think it's more like the opposite. It's rather than thinking what is the best, it's almost seeing what I thought wasn't going to work and then did. So there's some points where when you do something, you get really embarrassed about it. You're thinking, is this really? I don't know. It's on my show reel. There's this clip in Demons where I'm eating a cockroach, and when I did that, I thought this was sort of a bit of rubbish, and I was sort of too embarrassed. But when I was asking a guy to put my CV together, whatever, to make a thing, he collected this thing. And I'd look on it now and go, oh, oh, that's not bad. There's something to go. So it's rather than go, oh, this is the thing that I was wanting to achieve. I don't know that goal orientation helps in anything. There's something about just being in the moment and being present, creating what is there and trusting that that's going to be the thing that tells the story. Mm-hmm. I think there's something about, I'd like to write a book really, and the book would be called It's Not All About You. And I think this is the focus on the acting sometimes is, you know, if I'm doing a small role in something, it's not my story. Right. What is my job as the character is to stimulate the protagonist. My job isn't to show my own and do my all, you know, my self-indulgent vomit on the screen. It's something to go, no, there's a function I have to fulfill. Mm-hmm. So for me, there's something about, have I fulfilled the function? Did this help tell the story? Were the audience going to be moved by that? And if I feel that it was like well done and realistic, or, you know, I think it's always that thing when you see yourself, you get that, oh my God, do I move like that? Do I talk like that? But after a while you go, no, I'm now looking at the acting. I know what I look and sound like. So was the acting any good? So maybe there's not a thing that I go, oh, that was particularly good, but I'm able now to look back at some things that maybe I thought were bad and go, oh, they weren't so bad.
Let me say this. One of our favorite movies is Tango and Cash, but we have nothing on you. You apparently are the UK champion in Argentinian tango. We got to ask, what inspired the dancing, and where did that come from?
There was I did a piece of theatre where we did Blood Wedding by Lorca, and we did it set in a bull ring. And part of what we were doing on stage was we learned some flamenco and tango. And I just thought, wow, this tango thing's quite sexy, especially when you're doing it with actresses who can really give it some war. And I thought, I must do this. 10 years later, someone says, well, give me one of those questionnaire things that says, what do you enjoy doing? How often do you do it? Oh, I enjoy dancing. How often do you do it? I don't anymore. So I took myself to some tango lessons, 15 years ago now. And yeah, no looking back from that one.
Awesome.
Wow,
that's awesome.
So, yeah, I like how you explain it as if you just kind of fall into these paths so easily.
You just got to put in the work, man. I went in there. I saw something about brain surgery, and I'm doing it now.
But you didn't just take up tango. You became the UK champion
of tango. That's awesome, man.
Like, I'm not just gonna hitchhike. I'm gonna do it for 2 years. I'm gonna become a god in the Philippines.
Oh.
Yeah, you gotta commit.
Gotta commit. Yes, gotta commit.
So yes, you had an impressive, consistent career on top of a very interesting and equally impressive biography, which definitely needs to be a film in itself one day. What is the best piece of advice that you give to someone who is looking to work in the arts field for a living?
That's a difficult one, really, because I think I've got to my stage now where the people I've trained with in the astrophysics or university, they've all got houses and cars and whatever, and I'm still, rubbing buttons together to try and get some, pay for meals. So I think there's something, you have to love the art. I think at the beginning, people come in for ego in some way. I don't feel loved. This is a way of getting some love from a lot of people. They appreciate me. But I think the reason that you stay is because you love the art and the creativity. So for me, that's the thing, is because it can be difficult. You may be very lucky and you may get all the breaks you want and make lots of money. Maybe you're sleeping with the right people or you're related to the right people. But there's something if you're going to have the potential of spending a life in poverty, you have to have richness in another way. It's like your life has to be rich. So if this is giving you richness, then you have to follow it.
Yeah, I definitely believe that coming from somebody who got off of work from acting to go act, do improv on
That's my day off, so I'm on.
Yeah.
I'm on my day off.
The passion is there.
Well, Mark, I want to from the TTFT show. We want to first and foremost thank you for taking the time out. Number one, I mean this in the most humble way. You've been the most intriguing, interesting guest that we've had as far as knowledge base, range, and we really want to thank you for. Like I said, you didn't know us a week ago, but I know we'll never forget you after you coming on with us. And definitely, we want to say we want your career to keep going in the correct direction, because again, just by knowing that you ate a roach, that is all I need to know about your commitment to the craft that I love. So tell us this real quick before you go. Could you tell us about any projects you got coming out, and also where can they find Mr. Mark Phoenix at?
Okay, so there's no particular, with the COVID at the moment, the projects I'm doing are this thing, creating something myself. So it's like with a team of people, I want to use Zoom to create a movie. So I'm slightly a bit of a Luddite on the techno stuff. So when I start to learn some extra bits of things like that, but on the creative aspect, that's where I'm aiming at the moment. I've got on Facebook, Mark Phoenix classes, where I teach people how to walk on to stage, start improvising, and by the end of an hour, you've made a play. So it's teaching that sort of thing. I've also, my company is Third Person Theatre Company. And so the Third Person Theatre Company .wordpress.com. So if people sort of are interested on that, I'm still sort of updating and playing with that as the website. But yes, so do track me down to learn how to join my creative family.
And also send him just all of your questions about astrophysics and how the universe is going to end.
Well, I know one thing I'll be sending him. I'll be definitely sending my first Zoom audition to you. Hey, I want to be a part of the movement. I want it.
Hey, brilliant.
Mark, you're absolutely fascinating to speak to. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Okay, thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Mark.
Find us in all these links that's coming up right now.